Hello again. One of the questions people ask when I tell people I do past life regression for a living, they'll look at me and say, "Oh yeah, well, wasn't everybody like Napoleon or Cleopatra or somebody like that?" And I love the question, but the truth is I've been doing regression for 32 years. I've done 15,000 regressions. I have not met Cleopatra or Napoleon yet. I did have a regression with a fellow who was Attila the Hun's right-hand man, but right-hand men don't get that famous. There have been a few kings and queens that have shown up over the years, but a teeny tiny percentage. I think probably of all of the king past lives, if you like, maybe 10. One of them was a guy, Henry II of France, who apparently had some, I don't remember the word for the problem right now, but at any rate, while he was having one of his unfortunate fits, his wife's hired men grabbed him and stuck him in a cell where he was badly fed and grew a long gray beard and died really, really miserable. That's a great king experience. Actually, everybody who was a king hated it. I had a great adventure with a guy who was the last of the Romanovs, Nicholas. We did 6 regressions spaced a month apart, so I could ask very detailed, trivial questions and then wait 3 months and ask the same detailed, trivial question again to see if he had the same answer. I mean, I just tried to structure this so that if there was any way he was coming up with this out of things he'd read, movies he'd seen, and so on, that he wouldn't be able to fake it. And one of the interesting things that happened is that every time I tried to move this man to the last day of his life, the day that the family died, he would immediately sit up, his eyes wide open, and look at me, fairly pissed. Only in the last of those 6 sessions, after 6 months of this, was he able to describe how the family died. And what he described was totally different than the official historical account. Now, bearing in mind that the official account came from the Bolsheviks, and we know they wouldn't lie. However, 9 years later, a woman came to work with me, and in her second regression, described being a little girl, and she was painting a watercolor. And I always ask for a description of people's surroundings, and she was in her bedroom, but her bedroom had marble floors, and it was huge. It had extraordinary elaborate furniture in it. Then a knock came at the door. The girl's maybe 9 or 10 at the time, and there at the door stands Papa, who's wearing a red tunic, high leather boots, and she describes his beard, and sure enough, it sure sounds like Nicholas, and her name is Tatiana. Well, we went through the regression and got to the time when the family died, and she described it the same way that client 9 years ago had described it. And after we were finished with the regression, I remember looking at her, and one of the striking things about the man who was Nicholas in a past life was that he looked like Nicholas. He said he didn't look like any of his family, who were large Swedish people, and he was small and swarthy and dark, but he looked exactly like Nicholas. And when I looked at this woman after the session, I realized she looked like his sister. She had the same kind of nose with came up a little bit, squared off, the same skin tone, the same big dark eyes, and it was really amazing because they came from totally different parts of the world. Now, I don't know what that adds up to exactly, except that there's some of these things you can't make up, and 2 people can't make up the same thing and have it come out the same way when they don't know each other. So that's one of the most important things that I keep an eye on with the things that people tell me when they're in regression, is that I know damn well they can't make it up. They don't think so, but I can tell the difference. Do we have any more time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Well, this is a big issue for people, is wondering if they're making it up or not, because, when you're in hypnosis, you can still think. And so you can be having this experience, and there's this little voice in your head that's saying, how do I know I'm not making it up? It's a little bit like, falling in love and going, how do I know I'm in love? That thing with the daisy, she loves me not, she loves me not. When we get to really important stuff, it's really hard to make up our mind if it's real or if we're just off in some craziness. Actually, craziness could be the life any one of us is living at the moment, but that's another matter. Two things happen when people start making things up. One is they change the way they talk. So instead of describing what's around them, they start talking about how, then I did this, then I did this, then I did this, and they can't describe anything, so I know that it's bullshit, and we have to stop the session. The other thing is, I've always been able to see in my own mind what people are describing to me in the regression. I basically go there with them. That's why I find it so entertaining. I can go to Atlantis in the morning and medieval England in the afternoon, and that's a pretty good day for me. And I remember all the sessions by the pictures in my head, so that's why I never take notes, and my clients' files have almost nothing in them that would ever be a problem for anyone. So if I can't see what somebody's describing, I know there's something wrong with it. And I need to shift it around so that they get tuned back into the past life they came to explore. That's what makes it worthwhile, and that's how I make sure that it's authentic for my client and authentic for me.